right? So similarly, Hive is basically written. So uh, the Hive is basically written on top of a file. So this is a file on top of file. Hive is written, and this helps us to query the file. So that is the fundamental of Hive basically. Okay. Then we there I mean there was when we people were using scoop jobs and how to run scoop jobs and logs, and then pig was there. So I learned Hive, pig, I learned all this scoop also I learned. So but for now at least, good to have knowledge, it's not so important in big data testing. So in big data testing we now follow medallion architecture and data lake approach. So they're testing the staging, map reduce, validation, target data validation. So now in our latest technology, when you come across data lake, then you will be following medallion architecture. So bronze, silver and gold. So testing between this and this and this. So this like this testing you will have to do. So, and what are the tools used? All this are some basic concepts, and the notes which I have mentioned, in that notes I'll be adding big data. If you're watching in the month of January, then the notes are not added, but if you're watching anytime after January, so already the big data concepts will be there in that notes available. And anybody purchase in January, or anybody purchasing right now watching the video also, you will get any update happens to that particular course on the my website is free of cost, any update that comes. And when you come into big data is mostly structured and unstructured and other data also. Here different type of files like text, CSV, JSON, Parquet, Avro, ORC, Excel, these type of files will be there. All this I have covered. So this particular note itself, in this note itself I have covered these topics theoretically, and on my course I have covered all this concepts, all these files, how to handle all these files also I have covered. Okay, and from theory perspective, if you want to learn, you can go ahead and watch this particular playlist, so this is, again, you would be knowing as HDETQA. So this channel, very popular channel. So I hope if you are watching this video and you are a tester, so you would have already seen this channel. So just go ahead, watch this playlist. You can, that will give a lot of information. After the big data concept is covered, then you can move on to cloud ecosystem. Now in this 2026, earlier when I was telling, so in cloud was not so important, but now 2026 cloud is must. If you have more than 2 or 3 years experience, you should have cloud experience. As a fresher also, if you have cloud, that is what will give you uppercut to get selected for any profile. Okay, so we have three major clouds. One is AWS, Azure, and one is GCP. Okay, so now AWS is the market leader, but Azure is already picking up, and AWS has the highest number of services, then Microsoft, and then GCP. Okay, so at a high level, this information is good to have. And if you are starting, then I would recommend you to start with AWS, and AWS or Azure. My higher priority will be AWS. AWS is easy, and then you can move down to Azure. If you have worked on any service in Azure, like blob storage, or anyway I will be covering, so then you move on to uh, Microsoft Azure. So if you have worked on any of the service of anyone, go with that first, and then go to the other one. So don't play around here there. uh, you'll not be in a place to give interview in any of. Okay, so in AWS, if you're starting, so these are important data services which is helpful for you to get selected in interviews. Okay, when you get into company there, whatever AWS services they're using, you get accustomed to that, learn that and do it. These are at a high level, these are the basically data services which is used in the market. And in my course also I have explained only these services. Okay, AWS Glue, very important, how to run the job. So basically this is orchestration tool where you run the job, all the ETL jobs are there. So how to run, check the logs, all this information you should learn. Okay, I've explained anyways. In S3, AWS S3, again this is a file system where files are stored. Okay, the files that we discuss, CSV, Avro, JSON, Parquet, all this. Okay, and then here itself ETL ELT concept will come, whatever you are following. So accordingly, mostly when you get into cloud, mostly you will follow ELT model and not ETL. Okay, AWS Glue, AWS S3, then AWS databases. In databases, there are multiple: Redshift, RDS, then SQL Server, DynamoDB, or AWS, Oracle, MySQL. Anything can be there. Mostly Redshift and RDS is used, and others depending on the circumstance and project, things can change. And for BI, they will use QuickSight, and there can be other BI also tool which can be connected. So all this you should know how it works, and from a QA perspective how it works and how things are and how to test that. So if you are good at that, and I think you're in a good place, and then you move ahead with